Welcome back, guys, to another episode with Just Vanning It. It's a midweek episode. Good day, hello. This week we're going to talk about beginner to pro in caravanning.
To pro, but still so much to grow because we're still learning along the way and we're still making a lot of mistakes. But yeah, a real opportunity to chat to you and share with you what we've learned along the way, and I'm hoping that you can do the same. And you know, feel free to pass on and drop in any hints and tips or lessons that you've learned along the way.
Now, guys, this is how we've learned over the last 3.5 years. Welcome to our studio, our office.
Step into our office.
We cook, eat and sleep in our office. Right, let's jump into it. First one. Now, the reason why we've put this at number 1 is we want to start off when our journey in our 3.5 experience. So the first one, and we made this mistake, honestly, we made this mistake.
We did.
We went out and bought a caravan. Now, I had towed a caravan before in South Africa, so caravans are very similar to Jurgens over here in South Africa. So more, not so off-road, tall, big, and as heavy. I think the Jurgens are a bit lighter. So, and I've towed some boats and jet skis and stuff like that. So trailers and just general towing I've done. But yeah, so when we went out and bought a caravan, right? We set ourselves a budget pre-COVID, and I went out and I did not know about the weights of caravans as such. Now, I'm not going to dive into weights in whole, I'm just talking caravan only. And we found this caravan that fitted our budget. It looked fairly nice, had loads of storage room.
Quite a little budget, so I set you a task.
It doesn't matter the budget, right? Because at the end of the day, it's what people can afford, and that's what we could afford. And we went into this caravan, saw heaps of storage, and I looked at the plate. I said to the guy, "We can tow 3.5 ton," and he said, "This is the one for you." And we bought it and we towed it. We put it in storage, and then we went and then we set off for like a little test run, like a shakedown.
Shakedown.
And we left Brisbane and we went to Noosa over Christmas. And literally we were actually living in the caravan at this stage, but we hadn't left Brisbane, like towed it on the open motorways and gone 300 k's down the road. And a big one for us was incorrect at the ball weight. You know, I always thought you could have a light ball weight on a caravan, and actually it turns out that a heavier ball weight within your weights is better than a light ball weight.
It's the one place where heavy is better.
Well, at least we've been told a heavier ball weight. And then, anyway, I got to Noosa. I weighed the ball weight. It only weighed 160 kilos on a 3.5 ton van, and we had all our belongings in it. I found out, talking around, that you need about 10% of your weight on your ball, or 7 to 10%, and we were way off. But the problem is, we shifted everything to the front of the caravan, as this bloke, this gentleman that reached out to us explained, and we only managed to get to like 175 kilos of weight. So what actually happened was, where I'm going with this is that if I'd known about ball weight and all those kind of little things, when I purchased a van, that van had a ball weight empty of 60 kilos, which is no good, because, well, even if you tow it out off the showroom floor, it's not even close to 5% of what the caravan weighed. I can't remember. I think the caravan, weighed like 2.4 dry and then 2.9 fully loaded or something like that. I can't quite remember. But I thought, so that's something we've learned moving forward. We were always like, right, when we sold that caravan, we knew, like, hang on, we gotta make sure we check the plate and make sure that. So that's a big learning curve for us, and this happened to us as well.
So my first lesson in caravanning was about Derek's ball weight.
Yep. Not personally, but on the caravan. And then we're going to move on to now payload. I never knew what payload was. You know, I always thought you could pack a caravan with the space you had and off you went.
Oh, I filled the cupboards, didn't I?
Yeah, well, we did. We moved out of a house, a 4-bedroom house, 3 lounges, etc., into a caravan, and we had all the storage, and we packed it, and off we went. And this payload is a pretty important thing, because if you buy a caravan and your payload is only 500 kilos and you want to live in this caravan full time, this is generally for full timers, by the way. If you're going to go on a weekend, you're taking two days worth of clothes, some water, some food, a towel, and off you go.
Well, it does depend on how much beer you take with you.
Yeah, but 500 kilos sounds like a lot, but in that 500 kilos of payload, you've got to add your water. So if you've got 2 100-litre tanks, take 200 off that. That leaves you with 300 kgs of weight. That's just for putting water in it. Then it's your 2 gas bottles, it's your drills, this, that, clothing, food, and it quickly can eat up. So generally what I like to do is, if I'm buying a caravan now, I try and look for a little bit of a bigger payload. So the way we get a bigger payload is a lighter van at a 3.5 ton capacity, because I can tow 3.5 ton. We don't have a 3.5 ton fully loaded on this van. We're sitting at like 350. We try to keep it as light as possible, and we're going to get into that in a minute. So I think that's quite important when what we learned when buying the van is that the 500 kg payload for full-time traveling is very, very difficult to stay within, I personally think. Anyway, what do you know, like when it comes to packing stuff in the van?
I just know that I was terribly excited about all the cupboards. I packed half the house in there like a game of Tetris, and I had to throw it all out.
Yeah, like we ended up throwing so much stuff away while on the road. Now, we got a storage unit back in Brisbane, and we couldn't even get it back to the storage unit. We literally had to throw it away. Now, when I say a bigger payload, this caravan has a 790 kg payload at 3.5 ton. Now, please don't, it also depends on the vehicle that you're going to be towing with, so please don't, a smaller caravan, you must probably go to a 5, like a little Nova had, because it's a single axle. And I believe that I think a single axle can only go to like 2.9 ton. But then, being a single axle, smaller van, it tends to be a little bit lighter, but it only had a 500 kg payload. And we ate that up pretty quickly.
So second tip.
What's that?
First tip's heavy ball.
Yeah. Ball weight, and then just a thing on payload. Like when you're going to buy a caravan, and believe me, I've also heard sometimes that caravans stamp it, and then people have actually driven off the showroom floor and taken it straight to a weighbridge, and it didn't even correspond to the plate, and they took it back to get it sorted out, because it's very important that that they build these caravans, and when it goes to the weighing, it's a really small payload. So I think that's what I was trying to get at to that, is just when, buying a caravan, I think just like the first thing I do is I go to the plate of the caravan and I have a look at it first up, and if it's a little bit out like that caravan was, well, if I'd known back then, I wouldn't have even looked at that caravan, because it did cause us quite a bit. I was carrying around, I actually started, this gentleman that reached out I put play sand from Bunnings in there. I think it was $10 a bag of 20 kilo sand. I ended up with 3 of those bags in the front tunnel boot, carrying around 60 kgs of weight that I actually didn't even need to carry, just so that I could get the weight down. Because what he explained to me, now please look, this is just what this guy explained to me. When you get sway, basically what that is, it's the rear of the caravan trying to pass the front of the caravan, because it's so light. So you're heavy on the back, and it wants to follow it. So we put the sand in the front to try and bring that ball weight down, to try and level it out. Later on, I changed that sand to a jerry can water, so at least I was carrying around something that was usable. But at the end of the day, like, you don't want to land up in a situation where you're carrying around weight so you can just stop the sway, which is, I think it's quite an important one, that, because I think, hand on my heart, this is what happened outside coming up the sunny coast. We went down this big hill and we got into a pretty bad sway, and I'd read up and Googled that you, like, don't react to it, like, don't brake, I didn't even know that your tow pro lead, I've got a tow pro lead, that if you push it in and turn it, it only brakes the caravan. I literally just took everything, I held the steering wheel, just took my feet off the brakes and the accelerator, and then by the time we got to the bottom, it sort of pulled itself straight. We could have lost everything on our first trip. Done.
Sorry.
So topic number 2, which leads on to packing the van correctly. So we also, same thing, we had all these beautiful cupboards in the caravan.
Ooh.
And we went and we thought, like, this will fit here, this will fit there. And to be honest with you, like, I sort of had an idea that you couldn't just pack everything at the back of the caravan, and you can't always pack everything on the front of the caravan. You sort of want to spread your weight, keep the weight to the bottom, and heavy, light sort of thing, so you're not doing this. But we saw these beautiful cupboards, and I said, it's okay, we can put this here, we can put this here.
There was a lot of storage, a lot of storage.
A lot of storage for a very small payload. So.
Yeah. And I think because on top of that, with packing the van, they say to pack everything heavy on the axle, don't they? In the centre of the van.
You want, like I said, you got so we carry actually a ball weight scale with us that I bought at Repco or Super Cheap Auto. I bought a Reese, the Heyman Reese brand. Look, it can be out by 5 kilos, but it's giving me some sort of indication. And you try and find a very level area, like on a bitumen sort of parking area that's level. And you kind of can gauge, like, okay, that what Sue's putting there is about 10 kilos. So we've got to put 10 kilos at the back. So your starting point would be your axles, because it can take the load, and then you sort of work your way like that. And also, like, our groceries, our heavy groceries sit at the, like, on the bottom of our cupboards, and we start working our way up to the light stuff all around the top, and our clothing around the top of the van. Yeah, that's we sort of, but when we first started off, yeah, we were like, I think we were just a bit overwhelmed with it as all. We were excited at the same time. And going back to the ball weight sway, to go back, and we literally weighed every single part and try and distribute it correctly. Now, water and water bladders for, like, your vehicle. Now,
okay, this is something we had a few goes at this.
Now, I said this before, most probably several times, but I'll throw it in again anyway in case there's some new viewers or you've forgotten about it. Water was probably one of your biggest payload eater, because for every 1 litre of water is 1 kilo. You want to be off grid more to try save money. So our first van had 3 water tanks underneath. So now let's go back to that. So 500 kg of payload, and I had 300 litre water, so I only had 200 kilos of payload left. Biggest payload eater, number 1 is, like, I think, was water. So in our current caravan, even with that payload, because we wanted to try and keep it neat and tidy and light as possible, we only got 200 litres of water on board here on this caravan. So what does that do? That off-grid time gets shorter, and we don't save as much money in the long run.
And you don't get to some of the places for as long as you want to get to.
Yep.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, water is probably, if not the most important consideration with a caravan, because you're tied to your water availability. Like, you know, it's one of the basic primary requirements and needs. So no water, no stay.
Yeah.
So the water's a big one to plan around.
So with that, with the 200 litres of water on board here, now we get things called, like, you can get water bladders or water tanks under canopies like that. Well, we didn't have that when we first started off, and we learnt over these 3.5 years how important it is, like Sue's saying. So you can get yourself a water bladder. Now, we've bought a water bladder before. I'll put it up in the screen on the screen here so you can see. I'm not going to try and bag anyone out. I bought a cheap water bladder. I think it was like $80, and it cost me about $150 all up once I bought all the fittings, because there's a 50mm outlet and I needed to get that down. It worked for a while. It did a good job.
Well.
So the reason for the bladder or a tank under your canopy or in your canopy, some people you can buy them, they go over the wheel arches and stuff like that. I'm talking the tanks, is that we can now stay at the free camps, and then if we go into town to buy bread, milk, dump point, we can get water, bring it back to the caravan, and then pump it in. Now, jerry cans on a caravan, that's another thing, but they're 20 litres, so you need a few of them, and then there goes your payload again, and then your payload on your car as well. where the water bladder we only fill when we don't have the caravan. So once the caravan is off, and I fill our water, or this water bladder in particular, we were still within our GVM, and well, it burst, the cheap one. It burst on Kangaroo Island in the car, 150 litres of water.
Can I just say, I have never seen Derek move so quickly.
I don't even know where I got the power from, but I ripped the whole thing out of the car so I could look at, a few litres of water went in because I heard it go in the car and I stopped immediately. And I just opened the back door and I just grabbed it with all I had and I just pulled the whole bloody thing out.
I don't know how you moved that, but it was pretty impressive.
So where we're going with that is what we've learnt as a beginner to pro is that invest in a decent water bladder.
Yeah.
I'll put one up on the screen either here or here, and I'll put it in the description below. They are a molded, so the cheaper one was just like a very thin plastic in a blue sort of canvasy type of thing. But the problem was the fitting. There was like very minimal thread, so when you turned the fitting on, it didn't have much to bite on, and over time, like, it just pulled out off the thread, and then that's how the water went out. Now I believe this company, I haven't had one in particular, but friends of ours have purchased these on the road, and they're actually molded, like molded water bladders. A little bit dearer, but believe me, we're going to get onto that a little bit later. It's worth the money. And then what we've done is, I'll put it in the corner over here as well, is a little inline pump. So we run a little hose from it through the pump. Mine in the canopy, I've got a hard tank underneath the canopy. I've actually mounted and installed it. So I've got a tap on the side of my car that I just clip on, and a switch, and it pumps that 150 litres of water into your van in about, I think it's 5 to 10 minutes, and you're done. You would have seen, like, in a couple of videos I've done it. So that's how we get around that whole water thing, is that, and guys, 3.5 years we started off with no water bladder, and then when we got the smaller van on the two tanks, we bought the bladder, and then it burst, and then I actually put those proper plastic tanks underneath the canopy because I had a slot for it. So it's only 120 litres. I've got it joined together, so 260s or 65s, I think it is. Same sort of concept. And those bladders, you can actually, I think if you have a 200 series Land Cruiser, I think they actually mold them so it goes where the back seat is on the floor, over around it, actually mounts in there.
In the footwells?
In the footwells, yeah. So check that out, like, that's pretty good, like.
And can I say that it is so handy to have the ability
to get water,
get water without actually towing, because sometimes you might be an hour out of town and you have to go into town. Like, you don't want to be packing up and lugging your caravan through to load it up. So for instance, where we're staying at the moment, Derek's got to do a town run. He'll fill up the tanks under the car, bring it back, and we can pump the water into the van.
Well, if we go into town for any unknown reason, if it's to bread, I just get water anyway.
Yeah.
And then when I get back, if we're moving, let's say we're hitching the van tomorrow and we're moving, I'll just say to Sue, have a great shower because we need to use it because I can't tow with the water in the tanks on the car.
Showering like you're on mains.
So, yeah, I think that's, if I'd known that when we first started off, I would have most probably done that. And what's also nice is those bladders, when they empty, you can actually roll up and it takes up a small amount of space for, I believe you can get water bladders, I think they're 150 to 200 litres as well. Now, if you had jerry cans for that amount of water, the jerry cans, well, don't go flat, do they? So they take up space. Although they're light when they haven't got water in it, but you got all these jerry cans to make up for 150 to 200 litres of water. So, yeah, I think that's quite a big learning curve for us when it comes to water. We've learned all these little things on the road, from being first on the road to 3 years down the road. I'm on the road. What's our next one, dear?
Oh, I'll chat about this one because this one is about weight saving and space saving, which are some of my favourite topics. And the jerry cans actually come into this. So in terms of space saving, if you look at the way we've actually mounted our water tank under the car.
Yeah, use space wisely. It's out of the way.
Instead of the jerry cans. But I tell you what, nothing wrong with a jerry can. They've been going on for hundreds of years. If that's what you got, it works. But That's one tip. The other place we saved weight was we changed from AGM batteries to lithium batteries. Now, again, there's a cost implication with that because it affects your power system. Derek can tell you more about that later.
We're getting onto that a little bit later too.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. But there was a good weight saving with the lithium batteries, and if it's in your budget, I'd highly recommend looking at it as an option. I got to talk about the table when we first left Brisbane. We had the table of all tables. It was like, it was literally, we were inviting the caravan park round for lunch. It was like this big 6-seater, just a standard camp table that you get at BCF, probably about like this long and about this wide.
Folded in half.
Legs fold in. And we used to have to put it in the walkway when we were travelling because it was that big, there was nowhere else to put it. And we've swapped that out for a much smaller, more compact fold-away table. Look, it's only big enough for the two of us, but it works really well and it's a lot lighter in terms of weight. And then we've obviously swapped out the gas bottles for composite gas bottles. Again, weight saving, cost implication, but if weight's an issue, worth looking at. And then the day-to-day thing. So if you think about, I mean, we chatted about leaving Brisbane and I packed my best linen. I was like, yep, I'll have 2 sets of towels, 2 sets of hand towels. I'll have 4 sets of bed linen. Realising that those all add weight, we have now stripped that right back. We've got 2 bath towels and 1 beach towel that we share. And on the linen front, we have gone down to 1 set of linen, but I then went out and bought more because the reality is if you're not in a paid campsite and you don't have a big sort of washing machine, you can't actually wash it. If you're happy in, you know, pre-use sheets,
I'm going to explain that in another one. Yep.
Then also things like your knives and forks. I think I left with like 12 of each.
Yeah, we were about to invite the whole caravan park around for tea. We had plates and knives and forks and cutlery and
different types of glasses, martini glasses, cocktail glasses. So strip that all back. Derek often talks about one item should serve 2 purposes.
Well, not in everything, but in
where you can.
We've got 1 pot that sort of does everything, 1 pan to sort of do everything in it.
Oh, and on pots and pans, here's a little something I prepared earlier. So this is the perfect example. This is a Stackaway brand called Pop-Up. And essentially when I left Brisbane I had a set of 3 Stackaway bowls that stood about this high and about this big and were quite heavy. I've now swapped that up for these, which is like literally Pop-Up small bowl, Pop-Up colander, Pop-Up large bowl, and they just pack super flat and they're super light. So those are the types of things with the day-to-day that if you think about it and you keep it in mind, it can really make a big difference to both your space and your weight.
I'd like to just touch something. We met a couple when we very first left. We were still in Brisbane, but we were living in the caravan. And we were having to move because we lived in the van for like, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks before we actually left on the trip. And we couldn't stay in one place for more than 3 weeks, so we had to jump around. And they mentioned what they did, or what you can do. You can sticker things. You can go to Officeworks and buy some little sticker dots and stick everything. And as you use it, you peel the sticker off. And then after 3 months, go through your van and whatever's got a sticker on, technically you didn't need or you don't need, and they shipped it all back to WA where they were, and they reduced weight again. So
we should probably do that again.
Look, we always, like, in the 3 years of travelling, we've had 3 caravans, and we tend to go to each caravan. We strip out, like when we move into a new van, we go, well, we don't need that. I didn't even know I had that, so it's gone. It's in the bin, or someone in the caravan park, I'll put it up, a little free sign. People come and take stuff, that they might need or want or whatever. So that's another way. And in camping chairs, we set off with these big, what do you call them?
Recliners.
Recliner chairs. Space. As nice and comfortable as they are, they just take up that much space. We had them on the bed. You stop at a rest stop for breakfast, or Sue has to work, and they were on the bed. If I wanted to lie down and do editing or something like that, I'd take the chairs outside. We're just down to some nice sort of comfortable chairs, navigator chairs. Everyone does ask about them. I'll drop a link in the bottom for the chairs, and they serve a purpose. Are they comfortable? They're comfortable enough, for what they are and what the space they use, and we don't sit in them every time. We basically sit here during the day and work, and then when we're around a fire we just pop them out and they do the job.
Yeah. Other things, or another recommendation that I will make is, if you buy something new, something's got to go.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you can become unstuck with. Like, you think, oh, that's great at a market, or that's great,
T-shirt.
and I'll pick it up. Yeah, even if you buy 2 new t-shirts, 2 old t-shirts need to go. So that's a rule that we stick by as well.
All right.
And that actually brings us on to our next point, which is Derek's written down on his list: cheap versus expensive. What do you mean by that?
So when we set off, we had a very tight budget. If I could turn back the dial, a little bit more prep, a little bit more time, carried on working, I would have bought stuff once and not bought stuff 2-3 times and then end up buying the expensive one. For instance,
So buy once, buy right.
you get the muck mats. There's a few companies doing them now. Muck mat, grub mat. I think even Navigator has brought out them, where it actually absorbs the sand off your feet when you walk in. Well, we didn't have the money. We bought the little green piece from Bunnings. Yes, they do work. My personal opinion, when I went to the muck mats or whatever that we got, they do a better job.
Yeah.
And you can actually get them that they fit in the step. And then what we do is when we get to a caravan park or something like that, I'll just rinse them down with a hose pipe, let them dry out, or bang them out every day. And the amount of sand that comes out of them, you would be quite surprised.
And they last long if they're good quality. So nothing wrong again with the mats from Bunnings. We did leave with that, and it lasts us a couple of months. But our muck mat has now lasted us like well over a year, and it still looks
going
great.
And they've actually brought up more sizes. So some people have actually the fairly big one outside the caravan. So you don't have the little one where we can actually brush our feet off. We don't have one, and they brush your feet, and you actually leave your shoes to the right side of it. If you're worried about theft, they just bring them in. Then we've got the one inside the caravan as well. Next one, ground sheet. We bought...
how many ground sheets have we had?
We've bought 2 cheap ones, and then we ended up buying the more expensive one. So like I said, this is not a pinpoint, people. This is just what fits the budget. We bought a ground sheet from Bunnings. Not Bunnings, BCF. I think it was, I can't remember, 190 bucks or whatever it was. And we were proud of this ground sheet, but, oh man, the stuff just doesn't fall through it. And when we were camped up on the beach, I said to Sue, this is ridiculous. And
because we do a lot of beach camping, and there's a lot of sea sand.
We ended up getting the Sea Gear ground sheet. They come in different sizes. Again, we'll drop it in down below. We are not affiliated with any of these guys. Guys, this is just an honest thing. Buy once and you'll save yourself actually some money. Some people don't use a ground sheet. Sometimes I don't even put the ground sheet out. I don't know, just if we are at somewhere for a long period of time, I'll put it out, especially at the beach, because the Sea Gear, the sand actually falls through it, and then the little bit of seaweed and stuff that's left, I just blow it off with the blower. That's that one done. Next one, power.
Oh, this is
now,
I'll sit back. This is your expertise.
No, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on any of these. This is what we've learned. Now, I'm not going to double onto this. We bought our first caravan. We changed that up to lithium, like Sue mentioned earlier. Try and save power, and the pros on it, like charges quicker, lasts longer, and more usable power. But solar panels, like I've said this before in a video, my opinion to people, if you want to be doing the off-grid, is as much solar you can get on the roof. Like, why not use that real estate up on the top for purpose, than just no one goes up there. And
there's no point having the batteries if you don't have the solar to put in the power.
Yeah, and then like over these last 3 years, that's just become quite a big talking thing in the thing. Now people are up to 900 amps of lithium, with bigger chargers, better solar, bigger panels. We can dive into that. We can go on about it, but AGM batteries, like Sue said earlier, it's just to save weight.
And sorry to interject, but I think it's important to say that power is the type of thing that it is important, but it really depends on your needs. So with us living full-time in the van, and I obviously work full-time, so I have to have power to power up all my work equipment, and Derek obviously does all the editing and a lot of content, so he needs power for that. That's why we need quite a significant amount of power, and it's an important investment for us.
Some
but you
people
don't necessarily need it.
No, you don't. Like, some people like to go to caravan parks, and we've actually been saying this lately. When we have been off grid for a fair bit and we go to a caravan park, it's like going to a hotel. You can stand, have a good shower, we can do all the washing, you can lie down, you don't have to worry about power, how much solar, we can make a coffee without having to go, right, how much power we've got. Not that we struggle, but you're always constantly thinking about it in the back. You can't just leave a security light on, it eats power.
Yeah. And on the flip side, if all you're doing with your power is running 12 volt lights, you definitely, you don't have to charge laptops and equipment.
We've been to some really nice caravan parks. It is nice to go to some caravan parks, but look where we park now. Your neighbour's fair away. I'm on the beach. This is just what we enjoy doing.
The only problem with that luxury at the caravan park, love, is that I nearly kill myself every time, because I'll go to the ladies and I'll put my foot out to slide the toilet open, and I'll like tumble into the wall, not realising I'm on a pop a loo.
I've got a hot tip for people that like to spend time off grid. When you go past a water filling station, what we will do is we'll fill the tanks, we'll move away from the tap, run the washing machine twice, go back through, fill it up again, and then leave. So we've done our washing. We don't do it all the time. It's only if we maybe your underpants and stuff like that that you're sort of running low on. So there's a hot tip for you for doing that. As long as you move away from the tap so people can come and go, I can't see it being too much of a problem, and don't take advantage of it. A washing machine only uses 10 litres a cycle, so if I do 2, it's only 20 litres of water. I'm happy to pay for it too. Some places do supply free water, which is great, and some places we paid for it, and we do the same thing. It's $1 for, I think I paid $1 for 300 litres once. I'm happy to do that too. I'll drop $1 in, and even if I take 20 litres, I think it's a great service anyway that some little towns offer. Another hot tip, I'm going to add this one in as a bonus. If you have a cassette toilet, grab yourself a second cassette.
100%.
Carry one on board. Like, if you want to be off grid longer, and you get 2-3 days out of a cassette for 2 adults, then at least you've got a backup one. Or when you're going back into town to get water, get some groceries, you can do the dump point and you can leave the toilet here.
That depends how much tea I drink, love. You can get 3 or 4 days.
Second last one. No, I'm going to make this the last one. There's plenty we can talk about, but I don't want to keep you guys too long on a Wednesday.
You're cutting off my last point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, last one, and this is not a tip, this is just some of our advice, is slow down and enjoy it, and stay safe on the roads, drive to the conditions. I've woken up sometimes, when we first started off, I thought that you had to keep going, you got to keep going. I just wake up and say to Sue, I'm just not in the headspace to travel today, and I'd go and ask to extend another night. If it was free, we'll just stay another night. But when we first set off, it was generally caravan parks and showgrounds due to the fact that it was for internet. Wait, 3 years ago. So generally we were paying. So I'd go up, and if we could stay another night, that was a bonus, and I just wasn't in my headspace. So slow down. We generally like to spend about 3 days at a place, and then we start getting a bit of itchy feet, and sometimes we also have to tell ourselves, well, why? To slow down and enjoy it, make memories, have a laugh, make friends. That's what it's all about, or at least for us. And then we've made some long time friends on the road that we still stay in contact today with. So
I think sometimes you can reverse it. They say it's not the journey, it's the destination. I think in this case it's not always about the destination, it's the journey. So really just, if you have the time, obviously if you're on a set time frame and you need to be somewhere by X day to return, or you're just traveling for a holiday, different story. But if you have the opportunity, just totally slow down, enjoy the area you're in. As Derek said, make the memories, and just you might only get to do this once.
A lot of people reach out to us and ask us, direct messages, and we try and be as
honest and
if you had 2 weeks holiday and you try and pack it all in 2 weeks holiday, it doesn't matter where it is. I just think I would rather have a 2 weeks holiday with 3 camps in it and then take another 2 weeks and go do another 2 weeks, and so forth and so on. So 4-week holiday. Don't try and drive. I honestly wouldn't try and drive from, say, Brisbane to Broome, because that's 5,000 or maybe even more Ks just to have a few days, and you really enjoyed it and could drive back. You know, I think that's my personal opinion, is I'd rather just slow down and enjoy the time I have at these places, and then the longer trips that you can do, then you can start looking a bit further. That's just my opinion on it. Like, a lot of people might think differently, that's fine. But yeah, guys, so we just thought we'd just touch base from going from beginner to pro.
Yeah, and I think what's really important to note as well, I've just got all these amazing things to share.
Oh, which could...
is this is our personal journey. This is what we've learned on the road and what we have found valuable. It doesn't mean that it's right for you. Yeah. And you know, like the muck mat versus the Bunnings mat is a perfect example of that. Like, it has to be right for you and serve the purpose you need it to serve. If the Bunnings mat is suitable for your purposes, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So yeah, just our personal experience.
This is just our experiences, and like, we live in it full time, and we love a beach camp, and maybe you don't think that the Sea Gear mat is worth the money. We actually got it on a Black Friday special, by the way.
I only get things on.
So I think our mat was only like 100. We didn't buy because we don't have a very big van. I think ours was only like, oh, look at that sunset tonight. My shattered nerves.
There you go. You better get out there.
But yeah, that's a key, guys. Hope you enjoyed these. Yes.
Just my third. Now I'm teasing. If you want to know what my last learning was, drop in a comment below and I'll share that with you, because Derek is cutting the time here.
Yeah. But guys, from us, we'll see you guys hopefully next week, Wednesday, and enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you on Sunday. See you guys.